Good evening and welcome. Now, the rebel has resurfaced and has promptly been arrested. Catalan separatist leader Charles Puigdemont has been in self-imposed exile in Belgium, but travelled to Finland recently for a talk at the University of Helsinki. Finland missed arresting him, and so did Denmark, his next port of call. But his luck ran out as soon as he crossed the border to Germany. Puigdemont has been arrested and is currently in detention in a town named Neumünster. Catalans in Puigdemont's autonomous province of Catalonia spilled out onto the streets in anger, but the vehemence of the renewed unrest in Barcelona is of some surprise to analysts. They say that the fact that Germany is the place of arrest has infused more emotion into the protests in Catalonia because Germany's ruling government is firmly Eurocentric. And for Puigdemont, that could mean that the German courts take Spain's EU-wide arrest warrant more seriously than Belgium has done and do extradite him to Spain, where he faces long years of imprisonment on charges of treason and inciting rebellion. Meanwhile, Puigdemont's arrest on German soil has unleashed a host of statements from German politicians in Berlin. So who's saying what? The government will not interfere with the judicial process. That was the German law minister's reaction to the local media. The Green Party in the opposition also said that the law should take its course, but did point out that the Catalonia standoff was essentially Spain's domestic matter. The German left parties, also in the opposition, have condemned the arrest, called it a shame, and are demanding his release. And the Free Liberals, also in the opposition, are taking a nuanced stance. They're saying that extradition on charges of Puigdemont having incited a rebellion is out, but that it can be considered on the basis of other charges made by the government of Spain against Puigdemont. Meanwhile, the public prosecutor of the state of Schleswig-Holstein will likely examine whether Puigdemont can remain in custody by virtue of the EU arrest warrant, or whether his custody must be commuted to one of a deportee awaiting extradition. Now, WION will be watching this story very closely and bring you the very latest from the heart of Europe, where this crisis is unfolding. Right, joining me live from the WION newsroom this moment is WION senior editor Padma Rao. Good evening, Padma. What do you make of the moves made by Germany in this regard?
Well, we are yet to see what the court says. Indeed, there is a small dilemma there because the court, ideally this is going to take, days, possibly weeks. That is certainly what everyone in Germany is saying. And the reason for that is that his, current custody has to be commuted or converted into another kind of custody, that which awaits a deportee. Now, the question is that, opinions are divided. It is pretty certain, as you read out, Ramesh, that politicians in Berlin are, not likely to try and influence the courts. They've said that very clearly. There is a very, but there is a certain prevailing feeling among sections of the polity, both in Germany as well as specifically in Switzerland, Belgium, and in Scotland even. All these countries will, of course, have said that they will support the Spanish government as far as the European Union tenets are concerned, but that the punishment that is being, awarded by Madrid for Mr. Puigdemont's, rebellion and for his departure and his seeking exile in Belgium, that those punishments are too harsh, that there's no need for imprisonment, that after all Mr. Puigdemont is not a criminal, but that he is a democratically elected official, and whether the central government likes it or not, one has to give him that respect. And most countries in Europe would prefer to see Madrid actually talk to Mr. Puigdemont and perhaps soften those penalties and those punishments that have been announced. Having said that, the German Justice Minister has made it very clear that it will be ultimately the Court of Justice, the higher court in the state of Schleswig-Holstein in Germany, and before that, more immediately, the smaller court in the town of Neumünster, where he is being held. Those are the courts that will decide on this very contentious issue.
Now, Padma, some say that the German move is as political as it is legal. But didn't Puigdemont see it coming? He travelled to Belgium, Finland, but he deliberately chose to enter Germany.
But
why?
Yes, certainly. Well, I can't see why the, why the arrest of Mr. Puigdemont, how it could possibly have a political link. Because, one must understand that the influence, the polity of Germany does not wield that kind of direct influence on the border police, the border guards. And this was clearly a case when there was a warning, the arrest warrant against Mr. Puigdemont had just been renewed. That information reached Finland. It then reached Denmark. By the time the Finns actually began to react, Mr. Puigdemont had gone. He was in Denmark, and by the time the Danes reacted, so as he was moving from country to country on his way back to Belgium, it is quite natural and normal that information of this kind, which is essentially a red alert, is passed on from one police authority to another. So this is how the information must have reached, and I really simply cannot see the German Autobahn police on the A7 in the north of Germany near the town of Flensburg receiving a call, from some politician in Berlin to say, arrest the man. That's not how it quite works. They would have to arrest him first in keeping with a red alert that has been issued to them. And after that, it's then up to the courts. And I think every single politician who's spoken from Berlin has made that very clear, that the law takes precedence over everything else in Germany. So it's not that kind of equation. So I do not see a political move in the actual arrest of Mr. Puigdemont.
All right, on that note, Padma, thank you so much for that comprehensive update on this developing story.